Okay, so it's pretty much 7 o'clock, and we can get started today. Welcome again. Hope you guys had a great and relaxing week. So welcome to 3D animation class. So what we're going to be covering today is we're going to continue to learn how to use the edit mode, including tools such as the extrude and the loop cut to make more complicated geometry. And at the end, we're going to learn how to color the things that you guys have made, as well as how to render it out. And you guys will, and we will discuss what that means later. Hopefully by the end today, you guys will be able to have a polished looking image or a good looking image of whatever you guys have made from the computer, right? So, as you guys can see from the diagram, last week we covered how to make primitive shapes, such as using cubes and cones and spheres. So, for example, if we want to make a sword, last week from all we've learned, this is what we can do. Can use a cone, some cubes, and a cylinder to make the outline of a sword, but it's not a very good looking sword, right? It doesn't look sharp. It doesn't have any details, and it doesn't have any color. It's just white, and that doesn't look good. So hopefully, by the end of today, you guys will see how you can turn the sword from whatever's on the left into whatever's on the right. It may look very complicated, but the sword on the right is modeled using the exact same techniques that we're gonna cover today. So, it takes time. It takes some time to actually practice the skills we learned today, and then use it to make the sword. But I promise you, it's the exact same technique that we're gonna learn today, right? Yeah. I wonder how to make more complicated shapes other than cubes and cylinders. And so the tool that we're gonna use is called Mesh Tools. So what Mesh Tools allows us to do is to modify our existing geometry into a more complicated shapes. For example, the two mesh tools that we're going to cover today are extrude and loop cuts. Other mesh tools include the fill one, where if you're trying to bridge two edges. We also have the knife tool, where you can use a knife to cut out the outline. But if you guys need, those tools are not really often used. The main ones that you guys need to know are just extrude and loop cuts. So here's a short, I believe, less than 3 minutes video on what extrude are. Can you guys hear the video? Thumbs up if you can.
Once again, take a look at some Blender basics once again.
It's kind of quiet.
Kind of quiet. Hmm.
Today. And the thing I wanted to showcase today was extruding and insetting. Because these two things kind of go hand in hand a little bit when you're modeling things.
Hey, your sound stopped.
Okay. Do I have to? Let me see. Do I have to unmute?
Corn dog, but you're really more of a cat person. Hey guys, welcome back to Spike on Kai today. We're back once again, taking a look at some Blender basics once again, doing some basics today. And the thing I wanted to showcase today was extruding and insetting. Because these two things kind of go hand in hand a little bit when you're modeling things. So let's just jump straight into it. We have the default scene here. If you go ahead and left click your cube and use the scroll wheel to like zoom in and out here. And click it if you click the scroll wheel. So mouse button 3, if you click that and you can pan around a little bit there. Hit tab to go into edit mode. So you can see it turns kind of orange like this. Now what you're gonna do is go up to the top left and hit this little button that says face select mode right here. So you can have 3 different types of selecting. So you have vertices, which is like these individual points. You have edge select, which is, each individual edge, and then you have face select, which is the entire face of whatever you're looking at. So you see when I click this top face, it kind of turns like a whitish, little orangey, kind of like that a little bit. So let's click this top one. And if I hit E on my keyboard, you can see I can move this up and down, and I can essentially extrude this either upwards or inwards to like make it look like it's like a box or something. But let's go ahead and extrude it outwards like this. So it's a little bit longer. So just left click to confirm that movement. So you can just like hit left click and then it'll just put it there. Nice. So with that done, let's say that I want to go ahead and make a little hole on this side right here. So let's go ahead and grab this piece right here. Maybe we're making a trash can, one of those little trash cans you put you put the bottles in, you know what I mean? I guess it's a recycling bin. Moving on, let's go ahead and hit the I button on my keyboard with this face selected, and then you go ahead, boom. There you go. Now when you move your mouse, you can see it'll make this little box here, so you can see the further I move it in or out. You don't want to go past this point because that's like going inverted now, and it's weird and strange and stuff. But everything up into this part right here, let's go ahead and let's put it about right, maybe right here. So you can see what we've done is we've inset this. So we use the I key to inset something. So essentially what it is, we're just taking this face and then hitting I and then just making it smaller. So that way we can like, fix it up and extrude and whatnot. So with this little hole that we've made here, it's not really a hole yet. So it's just kind of like, a little face. It's like a little piece, like a little box. So let's go ahead and select this piece, hit E to extrude it, and we'll just push it inwards like that. Just a little bit. So now we see we do have a little slit, a little nail slot, which is cool.
Okay, so that's the basics of extruding. Simple shortcut is E on the computer, and then you can move whatever you're extruding. And so you want to take it over from here to quickly demonstrate it?
All right. Okay. Let me open up a new project real quick. Cool. All right. So if you guys are all in Blender, you guys can open up a new project. You guys can get rid of everything else. You guys can remember from last class that it was X to delete. And then we have the cube here. So as you heard in the video, if you press tab, you can go into edit mode. You can always go up here too, and you can select edit mode. They're the same thing, but tab is a lot faster. You also heard the guy in the video say there's different selection modes. This one's already in vertice mode right there. Then there's edge select. And then there's face select here. You can always use the shortcuts on your keyboard. If you click 1 on your keyboard, it'll set it to vertex. If you set it to chew, click chew on your keyboard, you'll be able to click the edges, and 3 is faces. Oh, okay, you guys were able to see everything before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then we're going to go into extrude now. So you can press E on your keyboard, and now you got this extrusion, yeah. And you could click once you like it there, and now you just have a extra. Yeah, you just. I don't think there's another word to say extrude. So yeah, extruding. You could always inset. So inset is I on your keyboard. And you can move with your mouse and you can drag it in. Oh yeah, loop cuts. Actually, wait, before you go to loop cuts, is everyone fine right now?
Can you go back a bit?
To here?
Yeah.
All right. You want me to go over everything I just said?
Like starting from after you made it top.
Hey, could you say it one more time?
After you like extruded it from the top.
So we press E and it extrudes. So then we want to inset it. So if you click on the side face here, and then on your keyboard, press I, and you can like, I guess, scale it in the face, and you can drag with your mouse, and you could click and now you have a inset. Do you get it?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. And then like in the video, the guy extruded inside, and then you got this little shape. Okay, so we're going to delete this cube and then add a different cube. So now, yeah, it's our default cube. All right, we're gonna go into now what we call loop cuts. This is helpful to do, I guess, patterns, or if you want to, it's just generally helpful for modeling. So once you have the new default cube and you're in edit mode, you can press Control R. All right, that's Control R, right? You guys can see at the bottom right there, Control R. And if you hover over to one of the edges, any of the edges here, you can see there's like a yellow outline going around the cube. That's pretty much the cut. You could scroll with your mouse and that could add more, or it could take away the cuts. Let's say I want 4 cuts. So I can click down and now I got 4 cuts here. Is everyone good with this?
Yo, can you show how you got the cuts from 1 to 4?
Oh yeah. All right, so you press Control R and that gives you the loop cut tool. And you guys all have like what do I call it? Gaming mouse, I guess you could say. One with a left click, a right click, and a middle mouse that scrolls. And if you scroll on that mouse, you can add in more cuts. But let's say that you don't have a scrolling wheel, you could just click 4 on your keyboard and that will give you 4 cuts. And yeah, that's how you get it. Is everyone good? Okay, no questions. All right. Actually, then I think we might have time for making a sword, I think.
Sure.
All right. So we're gonna make a sword really quickly. So normally, okay, you guys can ignore what I'm doing right now. I'm just showing up a thing so I can have a reference image. Just ignore everything that's happening right now. Not that important. All right, so this is basically what I'm gonna try to model. I modeled a similar one earlier just to test if this was possible. All right, so here we go. You guys all remember from last time how to navigate around. You can click down your mouse wheel and you could rotate around the world. You can click on the gizmos here on the X and I'll set you like this and Y from like a flat plane view. All right, so then we can go, we'll click on the X one here and we'll start with the handle first. So you can add in a cylinder. All right, and then you can see that this is a little fat right now. So we can scale it in with scale and then Shift Z. No, not Shift Z. No, never mind. Shift Z. Yes, Shift Z. So then you can scale it in. We'll say about here looks fine. Oh. You guys can go into the sidebar here. We'll set to 0.15. Is everyone here so far?
No,
Oh. All right. What do you need help with?
like when I put in the shape, it seems to show up more of like a wireframe kind of.
Oh, I think okay. First, if you check in this left corner here, does it say object or does it say edit mode?
Right now it's in object mode.
Okay, then we can go over to this corner. Is it, so you can see these 4 circles. Is it in this one right now? Or is it like this right now? It should look like this.
Yeah, I'll change it.
Cool. All right. I'm gonna make this handle a little smaller actually. We'll set to 1.25. And then we'll go next with this little shape here. So this is also another cylinder. So we can add in the cylinder and we can scale it down. No need to press anything out, just you don't need to press X or Y or Z. Just press scale and we could scale it down to we'll say 0.15. And we can move this down right there. Right to the edge here. Yeah, we'll leave it right there. All right, now we're gonna make the guard here. You can see this little part. So this is a cube. We're gonna scale this again to about here, 0.2. Is everyone here so far, or is anyone a little behind right now?
Scale it to what?
0.2 right here. All right, and then we're gonna move this up by pressing G and Z. Yeah, okay, that's good. So this is what you should have right now. So then we're gonna go into edit mode. So press tab. And as you can see, the shape here kind of dips down and then comes back up. So what we're going to do, we're going to do extrusion. So you can click on the two faces here. Is everyone here with the two faces selected? All right, I'm gonna assume everyone's there. So then also make sure your origin point is at median. If you remember from last class, it was period on your keyboard. And we can press extrude, which is E. So now we have an extrusion. Click 0 on your number on your keyboard so it doesn't move at all. It just gives you an extra face that you can work with now. And then if you press scale with S and if you press Y, it'll now move out like this. And we'll say about 6.5. If anyone needs help, you can just always unmute or type in the chat.
How do you like select just the face?
All right. So this is where you're at right now, right?
Yeah.
So make sure it's in face selection by clicking on this or clicking 3 on your keyboard. And then if you press this face and then press shift and also click on this, you can select multiple faces.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. All right. And then you could press E again, extrude, and then press scale and Y. And I think we pressed 6.5 last time. Yep. So this should be your shape right now. All right. So now we're going to add in a loop cut. If you remember, it's Control R. So just place one on each side here like this. And then from here, we can actually, no, we'll first block out everything really simply. So you can tab out again, and we're going to add a second, no, not a second, a third cylinder. And we're going to first rotate this on the Y axis. So it's 90 degrees. This is what you should have. We'll go back to the X side on the gizmos. Hold on, I'm gonna be from, I gotta sneeze. All right, hold on. I want to be. Hold up, I got sneeze. Hold up. I'm gonna go get water real quickly. Lol.
Are you guys all up to the step? Do you guys need any help? Okay. Let's just give you a minute to get back. How are you guys this week going, by the way? I know it's Monday, but how's it going? Is everyone fueled up and ready to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice, nice. That's good to know. It's always good to know.
Hello, I'm back. Sorry about that. Just a minor hiccup. We're good. We're good. All right. Yeah, is everyone here? Cool. So we're gonna press S to scale. Oh. And we'll scale it. You can see that this is a handle. We want it just slightly bigger than the handle. So we'll set that also to 0.2. Then we'll click G and Z and we're going to move this up. And we'll set it right in the center. And that appears to be 1.185. Is everyone here? All right. So then we can press S. Whoa, what in the world? All right, we can press S and then X. And now this will give us a little shape here. As you can see, it's also over here. And then, holy, what in the world? Hold up. Actually, do you want to go over this? I'm gonna go take a break real quickly.
Yeah, okay. So I have been following along. This is our sword so far. Right. I'll try my best to remember what the sword looks like. So we'll work on the we'll add the blade of the sword now. We can go Shift A to add another cube. Shift A and select the cube. We can move it up so it's roughly in the position of the blade, and scale it down. For you guys, I think that's going to be in the X direction. For me, it's in the Y direction, but scale it down so that it's flat relative to this sword handle right here. And then after we make it flat, we also wanted to make it scale it in the other direction as well. So scale in the X direction, so it's flatter on both sides like this. And then we can make it longer in the Z direction by pressing S and Z, scaling it up in the Z direction, and then using GZ once again to move it up so that it looks like this. Are you guys all at this step?
Can you explain how you made it longer?
Okay. So, okay, this is what it was like originally. If you press scale, S for scale, and then hit the key Z on the keyboard, you can make it longer in the Z direction.
Okay.
Okay. And then after you make it longer, you can move it up. Let me just make it flatter like that. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna go into this blade. We're gonna go into edit mode like this. And then we're gonna use the loop cut tool that we learned today. Control R. We're gonna add a loop cut in the middle of this cube, in this not cube, rectangular prism, like this. And then left click to make it stay in place, just like that. And then with this loop cut selected, we can scale it in the Y direction, just like that, to give it to give the blade a bit of depth, so that it's not all flat. Are you guys at this step? Okay, I can do it again, right? Control R to insert a loop cut. You can left click to make it stay in place. And then we are going to scale it. For me, it's in the Y direction. For you guys, it's going to be in the X direction. If we scale it up, we can give the blade some depth. Okay. The next step we are going to do is we're going to select just these top edge right over here. We want to make sure that we're in the edge selection mode. The keyboard 2. You can hit keyboard number 2 on the keyboard, or you can go up to the top left corner and select edge mode. We're going to select this edge, and then we're going to move it up, just like that. Okay, are you guys following?
How did you move it up?
Cool. Okay, so let me just show this again. We want to be in the edge mode. We are going to select this edge and then hit G to move it. And then to move it up, we're going to hit the keyboard Z to lock it into the Z direction, in the upwards direction, and then just left click to make it stay in place. You got it, Frank?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Now you may realize that the top looks a bit weird because this part is way too wide for a normal sword. So what we are going to do is use the loop cut tool again, Control R. Now we're going to add it in the middle of this blade. And then if you hold down left click, let me just show it again, Control R, and then you hold down left click and drag it up. You can see that we can move it up like that. Alternatively, if you Control R, if you accidentally left clicked and it stayed in place, you can use GZ as well to move it up. It achieves the same results. Once again, that's Control R to add the loop cut. Hold down left click and drag it up. Just like that. And then after we have the loop cut here, we can scale the top edge down so that it's thinner, just like that. Now, you may wonder why we have the loop cut. We have to add the loop cut. If you see, if we just scale this down like that, the entire blade scales down, not just the top part. We can do it this way, but if you guys want the blade to have a uniform thickness up until the top, we can insert the edge loop here and then scale the top down. Are you guys following? How are you guys doing? Okay.
How did you scale the point at the top?
Okay, so we want to be in edge mode. That's the middle one right here, or keyboard number 2. We can select the top edge, this one right here. And remember, scaling is the keyboard shortcut S. You can hit S and we can scale it down. Hit S and drag the mouse, just move the mouse across and you can scale it down. Elliot, you got it? Okay, cool. Now, this is the blade all done. We can tab out of the blade object mode or you can go to the top left corner and select object mode. We're going to work on the handle for the next part. Let's go into edit mode again. And remember how we added these two loop cuts? We are going to move them to shape it more like the handle that Yul had in the image down there. So what we want to do is to we can shift select these edges, hold down shift and select the edges. And then we can use the keyboard Z to, I mean, not Z, sorry, G for grab, and then Z in the Z direction to move it either down or up, whichever way you think looks better. I'm going to move mine up like this. Do you guys have any questions?
Can you go back to the loop cut?
Okay. Remember how, do you have these two loop cuts here?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you can do is hold down the shift on your keyboard and select these edges. And then if you want to select the entire edge loop easily, you can also hold down the Alt key. Alt and select the edge loops. Now, if you just hold down the Alt key, you realize that you can only select one edge loop at a time. So if you hold down Shift and the Alt key at the same time, you can see that we have selected both edge loops. You got it, Frank?
Yeah, and how do you make it like the triangle shape thing?
So we want to move this up. So keyboard G for move, and then move it up in the Z direction, just like that. You got it?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, if for just to make it look better, we can also scale these two faces down in the Y direction. For you guys, is it gonna be in the X direction, I guess? But if you guys want, you can do it. This is yeah, let's just do it. Select the two end faces and let's scale it down. For me, it's in the Y direction. For you guys, it's in the X direction. So that's S and then X, just like that. And that's part of the handle all completed. Okay. I'm gonna go out of edit mode. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, so the last thing we're gonna do is to modify this center cylinder right here. We are going to tab into edit mode. That's the keyboard shortcut tab or the top left corner. You can change it to edit mode. And we want to insert two loop cuts. There's two ways we can go about doing this. You can control R to add one and then drag to move it to the edges. Or we can also do control R. And let me see, why is that? Oh, I do not want this edge here. Control R and then hit the keyboard number 2 to add two edge loops. All right, and once again, I just undo that, Control R. Control R to add in an edge loop. You can hold down left click and drag to the edges. And same thing for this side. Or you can do Control R and hit the keyboard 2. And we also get two edge loops. Any questions? Okay. After we have the two edge loops here, what we can do is we can go into face mode. That's 3 on the keyboard, or this top left, top left corner of your screen, this third option right here. We want to select these two faces, and then we want to scale them down. But if you realize here, if we're scaling them down, we have the median point selected. So it's gonna scale with respect to the average distance between these two faces. So that's right here in the center. But we don't want to do that. We just want to scale the individual faces down. You can either select one face at a time to scale it down, or remember last time from last class, if you hit the period key, we can select individual origins. What this will do is this will allow us to scale the faces down individually, just like that. Any questions? Cool. Everyone got this sword? Give me a thumbs up if you have this sword on your Blender screen. Okay, cool. I see Elliot has got it. Frank, Alyssa, and Jaden, how are you guys doing? Okay, Frank also got it. Cool. Julio, Alyssa as well. Jaden, you got it? You got this sword?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, nice. Okay, so after we have this sword, we are going to now color it. So, can you guys still see? Do you guys still see the Blender screen? Okay, let me share my screen again. There we go. Okay, shading. Let's add some color to our swords. So this is a video from Blender on the introduction to shading. So let's briefly watch this.
Shading in Blender is a very important part of look development. In order to get beautiful colors and lighting, you're gonna have to understand shaders. Let's start with the shading workspace. This workspace already tells us a lot about the shading workflow. To start off, the workspace automatically brings us into look dev mode in the viewport, a mode that approximates lighting with an environment texture to give the user a general idea of what their shader will look like without fully rendering it. The shader editor will display whatever shader nodes you have for the material of the object you have selected. You will notice that by default, if you select your default cube, there is already a basic shader node set up for you on your default cube's current material. Changing the values on this node setup should affect how your object looks in the 3D viewport above. To change which materials you are editing, simply go here to the slot number dropdown. This is synced to your material list in the Materials tab in the Properties editor. Simply select a different material slot in the list to change the material you are editing in the shader editor. You can also replace the material in the current slot with an existing material using the material dropdown to the right of it. If you only have one material here, you can actually add more materials by pressing the plus icon. You can then either select an existing material through this drop-down menu or click New to create a brand new material. Another way to create new materials is by duplicating existing materials. To do that, you can press the New Material button, which looks like a stack of papers. Besides materials, the world also has a shader that affects the scene. To edit the world shader, simply change this drop-down menu from Object to World. The File Explorer here can be used at any time to navigate your hard drive for images and textures. To bring an image into your scene, simply left-click drag the file from the Explorer into any one of the 3 adjacent editors. Dragging an image file into the 3D viewport imports the image as a reference object. Dragging the image file into the shader editor will automatically add it as an image texture node. And dragging it into the image editor will display it for easy reference, annotation, and basic editing. One important thing about the shading workflow is the different render engines. If you go into the Render tab in the Properties editor, you'll notice there is a Render Engine drop-down menu. Under this menu, you'll find Eevee, Cycles, and Workbench. These are Blender's 3 different kinds of render engines, and they will affect how your shaders will look at render. Eevee is Blender's real-time render engine. It is extremely powerful and can render physically based shaders in real time, similar to a game engine. However, Cycles is a powerful render engine that, while slower, has slightly more accurate lighting when compared to Eevee. Luckily, Blender shares nodes between Eevee and Cycles, allowing you to work seamlessly between the two without converting any shaders. That being said, keep in mind that the lighting will still be slightly different. Workbench is Blender's preview render engine. Let's say you're working on an animation and you want to quickly render a preview animation instead of calculating all the lighting and shaders. To do this, you can simply switch your render engine to Workbench and hit Render Animation.
Okay, so hopefully that was not way too confusing. I will cover what all of it meant, or most of it. There's some things that won't be necessary or won't be covered in today's lecture. Anyway, so let's go back to Blender. Okay, so to color our sword, we want to be in the shading work tab, in the shading work area. So to access the shading area, if you go on to the very top, you can see that we have a shading tab. And if we click on it, it should look like this. Actually, yeah, it should look like this. Ignore the 2 planes, pretend that they don't exist. This is what your screen should look like. If it doesn't have any color, if it looks gray like this, you can try switching to the viewport shading, and that should bring color back. Or it should have a blurry background like this. And then if we want to add color to our sword, we can click on whatever we want to color. We can hit the plus button, and there is our material. Okay, is everyone at this step with a material on the sword? Okay, I'm going to move forward. So if you see over here, we can see that our current material is connected to the principled BSDF. This is pretty much all the majority of the time you're going to work with this principled BSDF, because it gives you a lot of control over how your part looks. For example, here we can control the color, the base color. Most of the time, if you want a simple, if you just want to add a simple color to an object, this is all you need to do. Just change the base color. I'm gonna put mine at a bluish color. And then the wheel on the right allows you, can adjust how dark or bright the colors are. If you move it all the way up to white, you can see it's a very bright color. But if you bring it down, it gets darker until it's all black. I'm gonna leave mine at a pretty bright color. And we also have a bunch of controls down here. Some of these you will almost never use. Like for example, clear coat roughness. I have no idea what what these even do. If you try to change it, you can see it barely changes the actual look of the sword. Most of the time, the ones you'll use are the metallic, specular, and roughness. Those are the 3 main sliders that you'll use. So let me just talk about what each of these mean. So if you just drag it around, and I encourage you to just try to change all the settings to see what each one does. But if you look at the highlights on the tip of our sword, if you drag the specular up, you can see that it looks like it's a lot more reflective. So that's what specular does. Specular controls how reflective the material is. If you want a metal, which our blade is obviously made of metal, we want the specular to be higher. But if you have a plastic or wood, you would want to bring the specular down, so it's less reflective. Now, roughness does pretty much, it's very similar to what specular does. But if you look at this part, if we bring the roughness all the way down, you can see that it also adds a lot of reflections. You can think about it this way. If you have the roughness all the way up and the specular all the way up, then it's like a really glossy plastic, but in the end it's still plastic. If we really want to make it out of like metal or aluminum, we would want to have to bring the roughness down. This is less rough. Remember, less rough is like metal. All right. If you bring the roughness all the way down and the specular all the way up, you can think of it as like a really, really shiny piece of metal, like gold or silver. But if we have the roughness down and the specular down, you can think of it as a piece of metal that's been scratched and it doesn't really glow. We will go into render later, but if you render it out, you can see that it's not really rough. It still appears like a piece of metal. So with this metallic control is kind of just how metallic it looks. I don't really know. I don't really know a good way to describe it, but if you bring the metallic all the way up, it kind of looks like a piece of crystal. So for our sword, it's definitely made of metal. So we are going to bring the metallic all the way up. And we also want to bring the roughness down. For the specular, we can also bring it up. Now you see, if we have the roughness down, the specular doesn't do a lot because roughness is affecting overall, like it's already a piece of metal. So you can see that the specular doesn't do a lot, but we're gonna bring it up anyways. Okay. So that is our blade. If we want to, are you guys all at this step? Let me slow down. Okay, I see a couple thumbs up. If you need any help or if I'm going too fast, just let me know. Okay, now next thing we are going to shade. We're going to color our handle. We're going to add a new material. You can click on the handle and click the new. That will give us a new material. And let's change the base color to, let's make it a leather handle. Let's change it to a brownish color. Let's bring the value slider down to give it a brownish color. And leather is very rough. So we're going to increase the roughness. Let me see. Yeah, we are also going to decrease the specular a little bit because leather is not as reflective as the blade. So we're going to increase the roughness and decrease the specular. Okay. The same process goes for everything else on the sword. We can click the center cylinder, give it a new material. Let's make this one a golden color. Let's make it yellow orange. Let's make it very bright. I want to bring the roughness down, so it's more reflective, and I also want to bring the metallic slider up. There we go. That's a cool looking sword right there. So because of time reasons, I'm going to leave the handle and the bottom unshaded for now. If you guys have the opportunity, you can try it out, assign some materials to it yourself to see how it looks. Are we all good with basic shading, coloring the sword? Any questions? Cool. Okay. I'm going to quickly move on. So the last topic we want to cover today is rendering. Now, rendering is basically the process which the computer takes whatever information it stores here, and rendering is basically spitting out an image, producing an image from whatever we have here. Now, to tell the computer what to render or what to display, we need to have what's called a camera. Now, this is what you see right here. If we don't have the camera, you can add Shift A, add. You can see a camera here. Ooh. I was messing around, so your camera probably is not long like that. Okay, this is what your camera probably looks like. Stretched rectangle. Now, so how do we know what the camera is looking at? Well, for one thing, we can move the camera around just like we move anything else. G to move it around. But that doesn't give us a very precise view of exactly what the camera sees. So another thing you can do is to look through the camera. If you look to the right here, you will have this little gray icon that looks like an old cinema camera. If we click on it, now we can see exactly what the camera is looking at. Right now it's all blank because the camera is pointing at nothing in particular. So what we want to do is position the camera so that it can see the sword. If we hit the keyboard N while hovering over this middle area, N, that'll bring up this panel on the right. Or if it's already open, just be with me for a second. We want to be in the View tab. This View tab allows us to control what we are seeing in our 3D space. And what we want to check is lock camera to view. If we have that, now let's see. If I zoom in and out, I can now control whatever the camera sees. If you see this outline in the center of your screen, this is what the camera is currently looking at. The things that look bright are the parts of the image that's going to be rendered out. So, for example, this blade is going to be cut in half because the top part of the blade is not in this rectangle here. So with lock camera to view selected, we are going to move our 3D space, zooming in and out and holding shift middle mouse to move left and right, middle mouse to rotate. We want to position the sword such that it's in view of the entire camera. This might be a little complicated. Are you guys all at this step?
How do we get to the view tab?
Okay, so if it's like this, you can hit keyboard N to bring out this panel. Or if you see that tiny little arrow over there, you can drag on it and it'll bring out this tab here. And there's a lot of options on the right, but there should be a view. This view option will bring it down. Got it? Okay. Is there any other questions?
Wait, how do you know what the camera sees? I did it, but like it went back.
Okay, that's a great question. Controlling the camera is a little bit complicated. So the first step you always want to do is to hit the camera icon. The camera icon now allows you to see what the camera is looking at. If you see this outline in the center, that inside that outline is what the camera is looking at. So if I select that, inside this rectangle is what the camera sees. If we want to change what the camera sees, the easiest way is to lock the camera to view. And if you move it around, you can adjust what the camera sees. If it's not checked, if you move it around, we are just going to exit the view of the camera. If you try to rotate, you will get out of the camera view. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Okay. For the last 5 minutes, we are going to cover how to render the image. If you go up to render properties, this is a lot to cover. So we're just going to stick with Eevee for now. If you have time or if you're interested, you can search up some online videos that introduce how rendering works and what each of these are. But Eevee is the fastest render engine. What it does is it pretty much simulates what the lighting looks like. It's a rough estimate. It's not perfect. That's what Eevee is. And then we have a lot of other options here that basically adjust how the output of the image looks. So some quick settings that you should know. Samples, the sampling tab right here. If you increase this number, you can increase this number to something very large. But the larger the number is, the better the image is going to look. If you put it down to 1, what this means is the computer is going to do is going to do the calculation 1 time of how the sword looks. But if we increase this to something like 10,000, then the computer is going to do 10,000 calculations. So you can see why if you increase the number is going to be more accurate because the computer is computing it 10,000 more times. Usually leaving it on 64 is enough. And if you want to see how the rendered image looks, the rendered look of the whatever we have here, you can go to the viewport shading. This is pretty much the rendered view. Yours may not look like this because I changed the world color, but it should be something like this. If your scene is very dark, it's probably, if it looks like this, it's probably because there are no light in the scene. So this is the same in the real world as it is in Blender. If we want something to look bright, not only do we have to adjust the material, we also need a light source. So we can use Shift A to add a light. And if there's already a light existing in the scene, you don't have to delete it. But if you want to add a light, it's Shift A, there's light, or we can give it a sun. Now, you see that it's not really doing anything because the sun is right now, it's pointing straight down. Sun usually don't point straight down, it's usually at an angle. So what we can do to change the sun setting is to drag this yellow dot. And now you can see this part is now brighter. We can also drag it like this. You can also try to add in a point light. Now, this is not very bright. You can see that it's just a simple point. If we want to control how the light looks, you can go into the light data properties here and adjust the power. Ooh, we are running out of time. Here's what we'll do. We will leave this scene here. And then we will cover some more rendering settings in next week because there are a lot of things to cover. And I'm sorry that we ran out of time today. Quick note though, if you do have everything set up and you really want to see a rendered image, you can hit render on the top left and render image. Oh, I have too many things. Just turn off some of these. Ignore what I'm currently doing. Okay. And render image, and there you go. There is your rendered image. We will all go into more detail next class because we ran out of time. But if you do have your camera position and you have the light in your scene, you can hit render and render animation, render image. You can also save this image if you want and share it with your friends. Sorry, we ran out of time. Do you guys have any questions? Okay.
How do you exit like the render image?
Oh, there should be an X, large X. You can just click on the X.
Thank you.
Yeah, once again, I'm really sorry we ran out of time. I had to rush things at the end. If there's anything unclear, we will cover it again next week. So hopefully we can get a good foundational knowledge of how rendering and shading works. You can also try to look up tutorials or videos online. They also have a great coverage of how everything works, including how all the other render engines work, if you're curious. So that's it for this week. Thank you all for coming. And I just encourage you guys to explore Blender on your own in your free time.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Mhm.